I'm Jason Tomaric. A feature film is made up of hundreds of individual scenes, and over the past century, Hollywood has developed a well-tuned system for shooting each scene, in which each department has an opportunity to perform its job within the allotted time frame as set by the schedule and the budget. Well, this process has 5 distinct steps: blocking the action, lighting the set, rehearsing with the camera and actors, tweaking the lighting, camera, and performances, and then shooting the scene. Well, in this lesson, we're going to show you the step-by-step approach of how to use this method to properly shoot a scene, and what each department is doing at each stage. You may be thinking, yeah, this is all great, but my shoots are really small, so we don't need to go through this process. Well, I thought that too when I was first getting started, and it's something that I quickly regretted.
The first entire full-length feature that I ever shot was for Roger Corman. And Roger always worked with novice first-time directors who were always very, very young. And he would spend the first day on set. And on a Roger Corman movie, the first day on set was always Roger explaining how to lay out a scene, how to block it, how to light while the actors were going to hair and makeup, how to bring them back and rehearse them, and then how to shoot. And he had that down to a fine science, and he would always impart that to his director on the first day of the shoot. And then he would leave and watch the dailies and see how things progressed.
You see, to the casual observer, it looks like a lot of people on a movie set are just waiting around. In a way, they are. I mean, there could be hundreds of people on a large production, and their activities are so synchronized so they could be as efficient as possible without stepping on each other's toes.
One mark of a student production or an amateurish independent film is you'll hear the director say, "Oh, we all work together. Let's all work at the same time." You know, "Oh, they're doing lighting," and he'll be rehearsing over here and prop people, and they think that's efficiency. Well, it isn't. The old-fashioned method of block, light, rehearse, shoot is the smart way to do it. Each division gets their time on the set. They can do it. They can do their job without interruption. It's their responsibility to make use of that time and not abuse it.
All right, so let's get started by looking at the first step of shooting a scene, which is blocking it. So let's say you're ready to begin shooting a new scene. The first step is called blocking, which is the director and actor's process of determining the actor's physical movements around the set. Now, the director and actors should have done their homework. They already know what the scene is about and how it fits into the overall story. But blocking is working out where the characters move in the scene, how they move, when they move, and why they move. It helps the actors feel out the set so that their performance feels natural.
The actors are called to set, and the first thing you do is do a read-through of the scene, just standing around reading it from the sides, the papers in your hand. And then you go into a blocking rehearsal, and this is a closed or private rehearsal, just the director, the DP, the script supervisor, the AD, not so closed, I guess, but that's all there is, and the actors. Now, by this time, you as the director should have already planned out your blocking on paper. You should have done your homework by breaking down the script to study each character's intentions. You should have visited the set to figure out where and when the actors move and where the camera will be to cover the action. And you should know how many camera setups you want to cover the action in the scene. Well, this blocking rehearsal is your opportunity to take that plan you created and execute it in real life with the real actors and the real camera on the real set.
Scene 50, so it's late in the script. We have to keep the pace up because there's this potential sniper who's going to kill a dozen people is on the loose. So we're in a confined area. I have product placement that we have to try to tie into a Bing map. As you see Castle, we start off, he'll stay here, and on his second line, he comes in to interact with the map, which then I can tie into Bing map into his hand onto the screen. I didn't put him in on this side because Bing logo's up here on the left. So I want to be able to be over his left shoulder for his coverage, so that then I can start on Bing from here and whip into where his finger is pointing. If I was to do it over here, there would be, I wouldn't see enough of the map, and there's not a big enough pan to create energy that I need. So I have 2 marks for the captain. She can't really go anywhere. She'll start at one place, end in the other, and then ultimately go for the phone. Esposito comes in. He's going to come saddle up right next to her. I want to keep those 2 together so I can have them trying to figure out the case together and the information. He hands her a piece of paper. So I'm trying to keep the movement so that, again, we have the pace.
Because of the crowd, because of the amount of technical people that are watching rehearsal, the directors will often ask for what's called a private rehearsal up front. And this is so they can concentrate on the blocking and work with the actors without the interference of people standing around. They're all waiting for their, like this, you know, so they can go do their thing. And the director then becomes very cognizant of the time clicking. He knows that he has to get the day, but if he's always talking like that, if he's always in that mode, he doesn't get to work with his actors. So sometimes he just says, everybody out for 5 minutes and let me work with the actors all by myself.
And what the director does usually, what I do, is give people a starting point. And I have previously placed the set the way I want it to be, and I stand where the camera goes so that they know that. And so I give them a starting point. If they ask for more, I might give them some thought of, in a general way, although I have it really specifically in my planning, of what I see for this scene.
That you say the line, and then once you're sitting, he can be like, well.
So they start running the scene. And a lot of times it just goes exactly the way that I thought. If it doesn't, but an actor has an impulse to move somewhere, I just say, I see you had the impulse, could you go this way instead? Could you go toward me rather than sideways, me, the camera? And so with gentle nudging here and there, ideally we block the scene in the way that I have planned it. If an actor brings something to it that I didn't foresee that's really good, I'll make an adjustment in my plan. On the other hand, if I've blocked something not being aware of the DP's needs, like backlight, windows, sunlight, whatever, I may have to adjust my blocking, you know, for that to make it easy and accessible for everybody.
The initial blocking may be done with just the actors and the director and the DP. Everybody else goes away. Nobody gets to see it.
While we are having a closed set, the rest of the crew is having coffee or eating or having a cigarette outside or making phone calls, or sometimes they try to be on the outside of the set and peer in through windows and stuff, mostly because they're not trying to do anything but get a jump on what their work might be. But basically, it's a 5 or 10 or 20-minute break for the rest of the crew.
When they have it ready, then they'll show it to the crew. And this is an extremely important step. The best disciplined crews will always do this. Some crews feel like it's more expedient to just move right into lighting something and shooting something that the crew has never seen. This is an enormous mistake and a false economy of time.
The one thing that you can do that ensures consistency from one shot to the next the best is to see an entire blocking rehearsal. Because once you know everywhere that they're going to go, then you know certainly the most efficient way and place to place the lights, so that you don't have to change everything tremendously every time you look one direction or another.
Let's think of this another way. If you have a scene and the director wants to cover it in 12 different camera setups, you can skip the blocking rehearsal and shoot the scene in 12 individual pieces, but good luck editing them together. You see, by running the entire scene from the beginning to the end, the actors and the crew can see the entire action, so they know how each of those individual setups work together. This helps the set dresser know what parts of the set to dress. It helps the cinematographer figure out how to light for the action on the entire scene instead of relighting 12 times over 12 camera setups. It helps the camera department know where to put the camera and what it will see.
Blocking is not just for the actors and directors. Everyone should be there. The DP, the gaffer, the camera operator, the boom operator. We should be closely observing as the director is blocking the actors.
So while the department heads watch the actors run through the entire scene, they're directing their departments to begin prepping the necessary equipment needed to shoot the scene. So for example, the gaffer, while watching the blocking rehearsal, may call to his best boy electric over the walkie-talkie to begin pulling the necessary lights off the truck needed to light the scene based on that blocking rehearsal.
The dolly grip wants to know whether the track is going to fit up against that wall. Is there 4.5 feet between that wall and where the camera has to be? Or does the camera have to be turned some other direction, or we have to move that wall? No one is thinking about that, especially the director.
Hopefully by the time we're in rehearsal and getting a chance to see where the actor, how the scene is going to be blocked out, my crew is still working to bring all the necessary parts. I will have had a dialogue with my crew before that point, saying this is what I want to have close, these are the particular tools I want to have close, because I have an idea of how I've had the discussion with the cinematographer, and we've got an idea of which way we're going to go. So it's my job as a gaffer to make sure I've got all those parts and pieces necessary right close to the set, and my crew has brought it all in staged nearby and in neat order, and hopefully even setting some things up and getting them on stands ready to mush in.
So if you've seen an entire blocking of the scene and you light from that blocking, then the number of tune-ups from one scene to another are really just about fine-tuning fill and faces and making eye lights work. Little small brush strokes rather than the big ones.
The gaffer needs to see it, that first AC needs to see it, the dolly grip needs to see it, the camera operator needs to see it. Just seeing it once will give everybody, answers everyone's questions. And a lot of directors and DPs even will think, I can answer all your questions. They can't, because they're not looking for all the things that you're looking for. So everybody needs to see it. They've even seen it just once. They have all the information that they need.
So the blocking rehearsal is all about the broad brushstrokes of laying out the scene. Well, when the actor's movements start to feel right, the next step is the marking rehearsal. Once the director and the actors are comfortable with the blocking and they've run through the scene 2 or 3 times, they begin what's called a marking rehearsal.
A marking rehearsal is where we walk through the scene again, but at every stopping point for each actor, the second assistant camera person lays color-coded marks where their feet are. And everybody watches this rehearsal. The stand-ins watch it, the electric crew, the grip crew, the camera crew, everybody watches it. And during that rehearsal, because I already know what the blocking is, and so does the DP and I are most likely to be standing off the side whispering about what shots we're going to start with and what it's going to entail.
We'll go into here first. Because the next scene, at least then we can start behind him.
Yep.
We'll
take this out.
Okay, all right.
That'd be great.
Second team.
If we haven't completed that discussion, once the actors have finished that marking rehearsal, we say, okay, second team, please, and the stand-ins step in, and they're going to do the same exact blocking and hit the same marks. At that point, I might discuss with the DP a little more clearly what is the first shot and how are we going to approach it and what kind of lenses, and is it a dolly shot or a Steadicam shot or just a set shot. And once we've had that discussion, which usually is under 30 seconds in length, we say, okay, the director steps away, the DP and the lighting crew get to work.
An integral member of the process is called a stand-in, who carefully watches the blocking and takes notes of the actor's movements.
A stand-in is an actor who has basically the same physicality as the actor with which they are paired, same size, same hair color, same dimensions. And that person stands in for the actor after the blocking rehearsal, which means they have observed the blocking, they have observed it with the scene in hand, so they know on which line they're supposed to move from point A to point B. They know if the actor was standing like this or if the actor was standing like that, and do it correspondingly so that the DP can light using these living statues, essentially, to create the light for the actors when they are called back.
When you're on a set, you'll often hear the stand-ins referred to as second team, with the principal actors called first team.
As soon as the assistant director calls second team, that means that the director is happy with the rehearsal and the blocking, and it is a cue that we can now begin lighting. The actors go to get the proper wardrobe on, get their makeup on, rehearse their lines, whatever they want to do to prepare, get a cup of coffee, whatever it is, you know. And the crew now begins to light. When we say second team, that is the crew's cue to begin lighting the scene and executing the scene.
And with that, the blocking stage is done. Now, if you'd like to learn more about how to actually block actors on your productions, we go into much more detail in the lesson, Blocking Actors on Set. In this full-length tutorial, Hollywood directors guide you through their process of developing story-driven blocking for convincing performances on set. Now that the blocking is done, the next step is to light the scene.
Well, once you've blocked the scene, you send the actors away to hair and makeup. You put the stand-ins in who've been watching the blocking. You light around the stand-ins while you wait for the actors to arrive back from hair and makeup.
There's two things that have to go on, lighting and the setting up of the shot. It may be some DPs like to get started right away on the lighting, and some DPs will set up the shot first and then address the lighting. There are advantages and disadvantages to both, but it's not a bad idea to know exactly what your shot is before you start lighting it, because then you don't put lights in the shot.
As an operator, if I'm told by the director or the director of photography that the first shot is exactly here on this person, then I start to implement exactly that. I will have the camera brought in by the dolly grip and start to position the camera at an approximate lens size that the director of photography has requested. In this way, they can start getting the parameters of where the frame is. And then the lighting can begin from that point of view based on where the frame is.
Then once that's sort of determined, the DP gives the operator some parameters in terms of like what they would like to not see, where they need to be able to put their lights, and what the shot is supposed to accomplish and what they have in mind. So then it's really up to the operator at that point to take over the creation of the shot. Once you've got a basic idea of what you're going to need to set up, then you got to turn it over to the dolly grip, because he may have a big dance floor to build or some track to put down.
So the stand-ins will come in and block the rehearsal. With them, I will practice my move. The cameramen may say, okay, Mike, we need to back up and get a wide shot of this, and then we need to push in and get a shot of the person's reaction. Then we have to walk with all three of them as they're traveling, and it may be a word cue. Okay, when the person says, oh, by the way, that's when they're traveling. So you have got to time it so when they say, oh, by the way, to travel, that you're traveling. Well, the camera lens may have to be at a 2-foot height, or it may have to be at a 5-foot height, wherever it may be. So you have marks that you have to lay on the ground, which would be 1 mark, 2 mark, 3 mark, 4 mark, and on your dolly arm, that arm's up and down, you'll have to have these same marks. So these are something that you'll memorize, and you get lots of rehearsals. That ain't gonna happen. You're gonna get 1 or 2 if you're lucky. On a TV show especially. Sometimes maybe not even 1.
Another thing you're going to be figuring out during that period is exactly what lens you want to have on the camera, and what other configuration issues you might have with the camera. Does it have to be small? Does it have to be handheld? Does it have to be on a gear head, or can it be on a fluid head? Is it on a remote head? Is it on a crane? Does the dolly have to be configured in low mode? That's a very common thing, is to know exactly how low a dolly will take you, because really it only gets you down to about 30 inches. Anything lower than that, you're really going to need to be in low mode or have a crane or underslung or some other kind of configuration.
While the crew is lighting, the actors have gone away to get their wardrobe on, to have a last look in the hair and makeup trailer, if they don't know their lines yet, to memorize their lines.
Now's the time to start looking for reflections, bad glares in glass, things that are reflecting the boom operator who's standing over to one side. Are things lining up in a pleasing way? Is something coming out of someone's head? Can we move some set dressing to create a nice composition around the actors.
And then I go back in while they're still lighting, and during that time, while they're lighting, camera is setting up the shot. So at that point, I go back in and look at what the camera crew has set up with the DP. Is it exactly what I thought, or did I have a little miscommunication hiccup in there? Or did I think of a better idea, or do I spot something or have an inspiration right in that moment? So at about the 15-minute mark, I go back on the set and let's look at the shot. And that's with the second team.
Well, once the camera's placed and the crew can see the frame, the grips and electricians begin lighting the set. Well, the gaffer will begin by lighting the wide master shot first, knowing that the same lighting with only minor adjustments will also work for the close-ups.
You always want to have an idea of how you're planning on covering a scene before you do your wider shots or your master, so to speak. And that certainly helps. If you have a better handle on how you might want someone to look in a close-up, then yeah, you want to pay attention to that. Or if you know an actor or an actress looks better in light from the left or the right beforehand, then you favor that person in the master. So when you get to the close-up, you're going to be on the right side of their face. And it also has to do with, it always helps to have an actor and actress looking into a light. So if you have to be careful about, you can always move a light around during a close-up, or you can tweak something and make it correct for the shot. But if they're looking out of the light 90% of the take, then it's just nobody's going to be happy, or certainly yourself.
Probably the lighting has been finished. If not, and it's taking longer to light than I thought it would, generally I ask the first AD to ask the actors to come back and let's take a little rehearsal time off set just to read through the scene, to answer any questions, to do any extra work we could do on the scene that now we don't have to do, with the whole crew watching.
During this phase, the first assistant director, or first AD for short, coordinates with each department head to make sure that they'll all be finished on schedule at the same time. They make sure the DP will have the set lit and the camera placed, when hair, makeup, and costume are finished with the actors, and when the boomer operator has finalized where to position the microphone, and that the set decorators are finished dressing the set. All this has to happen at the same time to maximize the efficiency on set.
Well, this is an interesting question, because ideally the first AD has planned enough time for the actors to get ready, which doesn't impact the set. So what happens is, after a blocking rehearsal, after a marking rehearsal, and we send the actors away, in our ideal world, however long it takes the DP to light that set, the actors will be ready at exactly the same time, and it'll all work out, and we can all go forward together. In practice, however, a lot of times what may happen is the DP is ready, the set is lit, and the actors are not yet ready. Now, because that's not the way it's supposed to be, that kind of thing is marked down on the production report as we're waiting for actors.
If you'd like to learn the art and the craft of lighting a scene, we've produced dozens of cinematic lighting tutorials that guide you through all the types of professional equipment: grip tools, stands, clamps, rigs, plus techniques for lighting people, understanding color temperature, and how to apply these concepts into real-world applications, on how to overcome common challenges in order to achieve the desired look on set. Now that the set has been dressed, the lighting is in place, and the camera's in the right position, it's now time to begin a technical rehearsal of the scene to make sure that the camera moves, the lighting, and the actors all look good in frame.
Once the lighting is complete and camera has set up the shot, we'll do a second team rehearsal. And that means we walk through the whole scene from position 1 to position 2 to position 3. And this is for a couple of reasons. One, the DP wants to check his lighting, but 2, I and the camera operator want to check the shot.
Now, people vary in the way they approach this. Some camera operators and DPs don't ever run a full rehearsal with second team. They just have the second team hit the marks, they take a look at it, it seems to be working, and then they bring the first team in because they feel that the expression that the first team brings to it is going to make whatever the second team does moot. They really need to see it. What's the point of rehearsing it when it's not the real thing?
Then the other aspect of that is, if it's a complicated scene with a lot of background, we'll do a second team and background rehearsal. Those are the extras. And that's my opportunity before the actors get in there to check the background placement that the second AD has done, to check all the crosses. And we may do a bunch of those. We may do a bunch of second team and background rehearsals until I feel like everything around the actor is set and ready to go.
Before you get too far down this path, you want to involve the boom operator.
Usually the boom operator has rehearsed with the second team, but now we're all doing it together.
You want to call him over. He's not there. Usually, if they're Johnny on the spot, they'll be sitting there looking at where the shadows are falling and what reflections they might be causing, and where they're going to be in the shot. Especially if it's a big wide shot, they're going to be concerned about how close can I get in here, because they're being pushed out so far that it's affecting the sound quality. They need to get right on the line.
Then we bring the actors back in. We rehearse them thoroughly through the scene. They work out their business. They make modifications to the action. They make modifications sometimes even to the dialogue.
Andy, will you just single out Seamus? No, just Andy. Mark, you go ahead and grab that too. Okay, great.
And that is called a stop and go rehearsal, because we have to stop if there's some issue or some problem. This is the first time camera has done it with the first team, with what they've set up. And that's really a complicated process when you think about it, in that camera is not one person. Camera is at least 3 people. It's the camera operator, the first assistant who pulls focus, and the dolly grip who's moving the camera about.
Hey, Nathan, will you do that again and just cheat the line, almost turn to her on the line? Okay, and action.
So we stop if anybody has a problem. If there's a boom shadow, if the camera move that we designed didn't work, if the actor goes, I'm not sure, am I supposed to stop here, or do I move on this line, or what? Stop and go rehearsal. If I feel like that has gone well, we'll move right to picture. If, though, it hasn't gone well, it behooves us to do another rehearsal, and then we'll go picture up.
Sure. And sometimes they love it and say, let's do that right away, or they'll say, now that I see this, I think this other idea will be better. And we'll start tweaking and changing the shot. And depending, again, on the evil enemies of time and money, we will either restructure the shot or change it differently, or do it exactly as planned.
Maybe we slow this down just a hair. Just, you know what I mean, the back and forth. Yeah, I think so.
Just would come onto them faster.
Yeah, and then once we land, you're gonna go, I would just take him. Were you okay on focus? You were right, you're good, right? Yeah. Okay, let's just go one more tighter on her, and then you'll make a pass on him.
And we also sometimes we say, well, shoot the rehearsal. In which case, no one gets to look at it. No one knows exactly how it's gonna come out, but we take a shot at it, and we usually do very, very well. Sometimes there'll be a little part of it that isn't exactly right, but that's okay, because often you're not going to use the entire shot, or we're going to do it again anyway.
We talk about the dangers of shooting the rehearsal in the lesson, Shooting the Rehearsal. Now, by this point, the scene is almost ready to go, and each department is studying the monitor, making any necessary adjustments in the process we call tweaking the scene. During this tech rehearsal is the 4th stage of shooting a scene, tweaking it. And that is making final small adjustments to the camera, lighting, set dressing, and performances.
After we do that rehearsal with first team, it's like a last minute dash to get all the little details ready that everybody wants to get ready.
When we're at the tweak stage, if you get a tweak stage, I'm looking for last minute things that might have crept in while other discussions were happening.
What is happening with the actors, if we've called for last looks or final touches, however you want to put it. So they're off at the side getting buffed and puffed. And while that's happening, the DP is tweaking lights, the camera operator is going through the moves again, specifically so the first AC can check focus. He'll run the tape out to each mark that the actor is supposed to hit and double check, because the marks may have been revised on that last rehearsal.
I'm discussing where the focus should be and what steps to take to make sure this actor's in focus at various points.
And that's my time also then to talk to the actors about any acting adjustments that I want to give them before we start rolling.
Now, Nathan, will you not now go to the board for start there? But the second time you come back, just stay back here for eye lines.
Usually that last minute thing while they're having last looks, if I want to say anything to the actors, is about a specific moment. It's a little unfair of me at that point. We haven't rolled, they haven't really focused. So it's unfair of me to give them an acting note unless I feel like, oh, this is going to be a wasted take, unless I give it to them now.
In most instances, now that your talent has come out of hair, makeup, and wardrobe, and they're on set and they're standing there, often, not all the time. There's a lot of things you can see with stand-ins, but you can't follow everything.
The director of photography has said, you know, I think we need a little light here on the side of this actor's face. And he tells the lighting crew to bring in a light.
More often than not, there's a little bit of room for tweaking, and as long as it's not too dramatic, you don't want to change out the entire key or flop the key to the other side at that point, and that becomes a little bit dramatic.
Well, I'm working with the director of photography, and I'm seeing what he's doing, but now I'm working with the first assistant talking about focus. And while I'm having this discussion, this light has been brought in. And they go, oh, that looks good, that's good. And I look at we're about to shoot, and I'll check that frame one more, and all of a sudden that light will be there. And it's important for me to make sure that the shot is still going to work with that light there, that the light is not infringing on anything that we've already set up.
So there's a whole lot of scramble, 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 and then everything kind of just sort of peters out. The actors go to their marks. The first assistant director says, okay, roll it. Off we go.
The fifth and final stage of shooting a scene is rolling the camera and calling action.
Bliss is between action and cut. Misery is between cut and action. And here comes the happy part. Action!
A lot of work has been done up to this point. And while you're shooting, the department heads, from the gaffer, the key grip, production designer, and the cinematographer, well, they're all at Video Village watching the shot being filmed on the monitor. And if they see anything minor that should be changed or adjusted, many times they can run in and make these changes in between takes.
During the take, I will often watch at Video Village or with the director. A lot of times these days in the TV realm, you're in what's called the DIT, a little tent so you can see the cleanest monitor for whatever video medium you happen to be shooting on, whether it's Genesis or F-35 or whatever the latest tool coming down the pipe. Or right next to the camera. I still prefer to be near the camera when things are going on. Of course, I have to be careful I'm not in somebody's eye line, but I always like to be near the camera and get a final look at an actor or an actress with my own eyes.
So by following the simple steps of block, light, rehearse, tweak, and shoot, you'll maximize the efficiency of the crew, help the actors get into the scene, and ultimately get the scene that you want. All right, guys, there you have it. A few techniques to help you improve your film skills. Now, if you really want to improve the quality of your productions, I'll take you much deeper into the entire filmmaking process in the paid course at FilmSkills Unlimited, where I partnered with Arri, Audio-Technica, Panavision, Matthew Studio Equipment, Ledgo, and KinoFlow to produce an online training curriculum so complete that over 115 film schools, universities, and film commissions use my program. Plus, I sat down with over 70 Academy Award and Emmy-winning filmmakers who reveal the techniques they use to produce the biggest TV shows and movies ever made. So join over 20,000 filmmakers and learn how to write better screenplays, become a more effective director on set, master advanced cinematography techniques, unlock the full capabilities of your camera and lens, improve your shots with Hollywood lighting techniques, learn how to record audio, design sets, edit, and much more. And as a special bonus, I've also negotiated special discounts on software and gear just for FilmSkills members. And as a member, you also have exclusive access to hundreds of projects and exercises to practice and hone your skills. Plus, nearly 2,000 pages of my illustrated companion guides, personal mentoring, job shadows, and much more. So check out filmskills.com for more information. And by the way, you're also invited to join my free 1-hour filmmaking course, where I share my top 10 secrets to achieving a professional look that helped me grow a career shooting in over 35 countries for top studios and brands. So check out the link below to register for my free 1-hour filmmaking course and learn how to become a better filmmaker at FilmSkills, the online film school built by filmmakers for filmmakers.